All right, welcome everybody. So China's high-speed rail network now exceeds 50,000 kilometers, more than the rest of the world combined. Massive cities rise almost overnight. So how is all this possible? When I lived in China, what surprised me most wasn't the buildings. It was the pressure people grew up under long before they entered the workforce. So I've talked about China's infrastructure before, but the real driver isn't just engineering. It starts long before construction sites. And when I was teaching at international high school in China, I remember students often spending 10 to 14 hours a day at school, including self-study and evening sessions. Days could start as early as 6:30 a.m. and end at 7:30 p.m., with homework often done at school in the later hours. In summer or vacation classes weren't remedial, students took them to get ahead for college admissions. Even international programs, like ACT prep for studying abroad, are competitive, but the Gaokao, China's national college entrance exam, is even tougher. Many students stay late to complete extra exercises, often as part of mandatory school programs, encouraged by both families and schools. But recent educational reforms in China are trying to ease student burdens to encourage more physical activity, homework limits, and better sleep. But competition is still fierce, despite reforms. And that intensity doesn't stop at graduation. It carries over in every level of work in China. So construction workers, for example, put in long hours under strict schedules. I saw many of them living right next to the construction sites in temporary housing, often several men to a room. Most are migrant laborers from the countryside coming to the cities to do low-wage work. And the work that they do is physically demanding and dangerous, but safety risks that would not be tolerated in the United States. But it helps explain how massive projects get completed so quickly in China. And workers often move from project to project, forming a highly mobile workforce willing to endure tough conditions for months at a time. So endurance, discipline, sheer scale, and careful coordination, along with centralized planning, are part of what makes China's rapid development possible. And it's not just about speed. It's about a system that can organize thousands of workers efficiently on huge projects. And also, it's not just physical work. White-collar workers, especially in tech, face their own intense schedules. So in China, many tech employees in a variety of fields have recently followed the 996 schedule, working 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week. But courts and labor reforms have challenged this, making some companies enforce earlier clockouts. But intense expectations persist. Even with pushback, employees often feel pressure to perform because promotions, projects, and company success are tightly linked to effort. But young people who resist overwork sometimes adopt lying flat, choosing a slower, lower stress lifestyle, or pursue other paths like moving to smaller cities, or creative artisan work. And this shows that while pressure is high, individuals are finding ways to push back against extreme schedules. So the form changes across sectors, but the pressure is consistent, though its limits are increasingly visible. So intense work culture exists at both the manual and white-collar levels, but adaptation and resistance are emerging. And the same drive shows up even at street level, from vendors working long hours to the crowded markets you see in every city. In China, you can see street vendors and small merchants work morning to night, sometimes for minimal profit but high volume. Also, delivery drivers often work long hours, navigating traffic and weather to deliver everything from takeout meals to items you could buy in a store. So pressure isn't limited to one sector, it's felt at every level of society, from white-collar tech workers to street-level labor. And this pervasive intensity helps explain how China achieves rapid development across industries. And it's a system that's built on effort, endurance, and widespread societal pressure, not just infrastructure or tech alone. And all this ties into broader structural factors, the economics, population pressures, and historical memory that shape how people work and live in China. Urban mobility is scarce relative to population size, so both families and the state treat personal and economic development as urgent. And many families remember poverty from just one generation ago, making growth feel necessary rather than abstract. And workers in China generally accept lower wages than what would be needed in the United States or other high-cost countries, helping manufacturing and infrastructure projects scale quickly. So this is a structural issue, not just a cultural trait. It explains why rapid construction, manufacturing, and service delivery are possible at such scale. So the pressure to work hard is systemic and reinforced by economic realities, even if wages rise and conditions improve. The combination of population, historical memory, and societal expectations maintains high effort levels. And this is part of why China can execute massive projects quickly, from skyscrapers to e-commerce deliveries. So this kind of intense work and education pressure isn't unique to China. Similar patterns appear in other East Asian countries, though each has its own history and approach. So Japan and South Korea, they experience similarly intense education and work cultures during periods of rapid industrialization. And students in both countries often face long school days and high-pressure exams. Workers, especially in tech and manufacturing, follow demanding schedules to help fuel national growth. And in Japan and South Korea, societal expectation and family pressure reinforced individual effort. The system rewarded persistence and endurance. And now in Vietnam, young workers in fast-growing manufacturing hubs are increasingly facing long hours and high expectations. But education pressures are generally less extreme than China's, but the workforce is adapting quickly to industrial demands. So rapid development combined with scarce opportunity intensifies competition, and across these countries, the pattern is clear. Hard work is reinforced by both systemic pressure and historical context, not just culture or individual choice. This gives perspective on China's current pace of growth, and why other countries following similar paths can also achieve rapid progress when pressure and incentives align. So what does all of this mean for countries like the United States trying to compete with China? Rapid development in China isn't just about talent or ingenuity. It's built on structural factors, historical memory, population pressures, and societal expectations. So the United States can rebuild or expand manufacturing infrastructure, but it will look different. And in the United States, timelines will be slower because of higher wages and stricter labor protections. Also, in America, automation technology will play a larger role to offset labor costs. And also, targeted subsidies and investment in specific sectors like semiconductors or green energy can help compete strategically. So it's not about copying China, but understanding the system and context to plan effectively. So in China, the pressure takes many forms, but it's consistent across education, labor, and society. And understanding these pressures and their evolutions and limits is the first step to making meaningful comparisons. So this isn't a moral judgment, it's an observation of how incentives, history, and scale shape productivity and growth. So whether it's classrooms, construction sites, or tech offices, a drive is built into the system, and understanding it helps us see China more clearly. And thank you everybody so much for watching this video. If you like this video, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I have many more videos coming just like this one, and maybe leave a comment if you would. What surprised you the most about how competitive Chinese society could be? And thanks again for watching, and I'll see everybody for next time.